Madame Dufranc normally does business by appointment.
I'd like to make an appointment.
Oh, the gentleman would like to make an appointment.
Impossible.
Impossible.
Hello and good day! Star Trek Section 31, the special movie event is released. It's out there. It is streaming on Paramount Plus. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast for our live stream review here on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and audio versions. I'm Dave Mader. We're going to be live streaming for the next hour plus, talking about this whole thing. This is a full spoiler review, everybody. If you don't want to know anything about Section 31, the movie, then you come back later after you've seen it. Or if you don't care about spoilers, then please stay around and hear what we have to say. I got a great panel here to break it all down. We got the guy who loves the Section 31 concept. It's Jody Simpson.
It is. That's me.
Yeah. So you if anyone should be excited
I
about
love the Section 31 lore, but I will reserve my comments until when we're
going to get into it, Jody. Don't worry. Then coming in next, the ever fabulous and dressed up Heather Narduzzi.
Glory to the Empire.
Glory to the Empire, of course. Yes, very much so. And last, it's our intelligence officer at LLAP. It is Justin Velociraptor.
Hey, Trekkies, what's going on?
Glad to have you be with all of you today. We're a whole covert ops team looking to do something similar to the cast of this movie. As we mentioned, full spoilers, everybody. We're getting right into it. We got live stream, evening, maybe wherever you are. It's depending on your time zone.
Into the unknown. I think I've watched some of their stuff.
You can throw your comments in. We will try to get to all of them. But this is the first Star Trek film, I guess, movie in 9 years. The last one being Star Trek Beyond that came out in 2016. That was a theatrical release. This is not. This is more, I don't know, it's hard to classify streaming movies. Maybe they're closer to made for TV movies back in the day. But, here we are.
Somebody makes you pay for this, don't. That's my first bit of advice.
So I think I think gauging the temperature of the room is going to be my first question here, Jody. You've long been a fan of the Section 31 concept, not a fan of Star Trek Discovery, which
not terribly.
This is very much a spin-off of or a derivative of, so you were not necessarily. I guess excited coming into watching this, but how do you feel about it right now?
Even less excited. I don't want to go all into it right this second, but somebody should have paid me to watch this. I think is probably the best thing here.
You will get no funds from me, sir.
So, it's a mess. I don't want to get too far in. I don't want to take away everybody else's intros, but it's a hot mess.
Okay, Heather, we watched quite a few of the trailers together, along with Justin and Adam, I believe, who can't make it today. So I'd say you were probably the most excited coming into this. How do you feel about it right now?
I loved the looks, the fashions. I loved the really cool, swirly space station, which we did see in the trailer. I love some of the cool new ship design. I loved the singer in the bar at the start.
Is that where the list sort of ends? Okay.
She liked the first 3 minutes of the movie.
I really, really wanted to love this and be fascinated by it and just want more and more and more of it. But it could have been so much more than it was, right? I think.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And Justin, where are you at?
Well, I don't think anybody on the pod loves the concept of Section 31 more than I do, except for Jody. And this one really felt like the producers of all those CW shows cringed. It went, wow, that's bad. I feel like this was made by the Guy Ritchie you have at home. It's just, I'm glad that Heather had some positive things to say, because I'm not just wearing these glasses because of eye strain. I'm worried that my eye rolls throughout this review will actually cause a temporal disturbance.
There will be some kind of technical malfunction as a result. Well, that's a safe precaution, I believe. And just to share from my own perspective, I was trying to come into this with an open mind. You can go back and when this was originally announced, Davin and I talked about it. We sat down and we talked about this whole concept, and then we had a lot of I had a lot of reservations about it. Now, Davin doesn't like Section 31 as a part of Star Trek, and he doesn't like the Mirror Universe. So immediately he's not really into this idea.
He's not the target audience.
Right. I don't feel that way. I like both of those concepts and part of Star Trek and everything else. And so, but I thought that creating a film or a story around Emperor Georgiou specifically was going to be problematic because, she's a character that has committed much atrocities, genocide, cannibalism, and eating other sentient beings, and conquering and conquest and slavery, and there's a lot of bad on the list here, but we saw that during the events of Star Trek Discovery, more specifically seasons 2 and 3, that she was on sort of a redemption arc, a sort of rebirth, if you will, and I'm fully okay with that idea. That I think that some characters can find redemption, and I think if you do it the right way, it can work really well. But still, all of that is in place here, and so I think that they don't try to shy away from that in this movie. Hi, Sam. Hey, Sam. They definitely don't try to yada that, but on the same time they do. I think that it doesn't necessarily work, and that aside, it's also like what I guess my problem also with this, even coming into this before we even watched it, was how Section 31 was sort of changed in Discovery from what it was originally introduced in Star Trek Deep Space Nine and then carried through in Star Trek Enterprise. That it was this off the books, unsanctioned group of humans originally in case of Enterprise, and later the Federation, that was going sort of outside of Starfleet, going outside of the proper due process and everything else, not members of Starfleet, but working on behalf of the Federation, doing things like committing genocide, like creating the changeling virus, and covering up certain facts during the Xindi crisis, and that they're kind of bad, more than kind of, I would argue very bad,
They're a necessary evil.
But Jody would argue, like they're kind of like, they do the dirty work nobody else wants to, and they're
these organizations happen everywhere, like even in recent military times and stuff like that. These types of teams, organizations, they all do exist. There is going to be people that just absolutely don't want to do certain things, but there will be people that will be okay with it. Like Giorgio, for instance.
You don't get to be a socialist utopia surrounded by Klingons and Romulans and Andorians by playing nice with everybody. There is a necessity to having a system like Section 31 in place in order so that the rest of the Federation can enjoy the benefits of that socialist utopia.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sure, like you could make that argument, but I think like its place as part of Starfleet doesn't quite sit well with me. Like, and even in this film, I'm not quite sure that they tackle the subject to my satisfaction at all. Like, is Section 31
good? They tackle
good?
Anything in this?
No, not really. Yeah. Is it
Did
bad?
I miss something?
How should we even feel about it as an organization? Where does it fall? Even it's separate from Starfleet intelligence, but of course Rachel Garrett's role in this film.
I think that's probably one of the worst.
I don't think that any of those questions are actually relevant at the end of that movie, Dave. I really don't think that any of that mattered to anybody involved in this.
Agreed. So I'm disappointed on that standpoint alone. And then we get into what is this movie, and it feels like, for me, it felt like a pilot. It felt like not a movie, but more like a 2-part episode of a show or a brand new show that they're trying to pitch. Now,
you should mention that.
This was originally going to be a show. Like, I think when Discovery was still in its first or second year, and before there was sort of like this, I don't know, rearranging of the deck chairs and all this kind of thing, and the shift around the strategy of Star Trek, and that Discovery wasn't very popular, I guess, as it came out. And so a lot of that stuff got shelved. But then Michelle Yeoh, she played that character on Discovery. She left the show, but then afterwards goes on to be in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Wins Best Actress. That film wins Best Picture at the Oscars. Beautiful. And there's kind of all this momentum coming off of that. Like, okay, Michelle Yeoh's hot right now. We still have her sort of under contract to come back and play this Georgiou. Let's try to do that and see if we can get something going here. Jamie Lee Curtis shows up in this from Everything Everywhere All at Once, seemingly as a nod to that or as like something else. So yeah, I'm also feeling like this was quite a disappointment in terms of just something I had to watch, in terms of like the vibe of the film. It felt very much like discount MCU humor, a lot of quips, a lot of like, there's not a lot of substance to it. It's just a lot of like people.
This is She-Hulk in Star Trek universe.
They could have even She-Hulk was
terrible.
That's insulting to She-Hulk. But
well,
this,
I'm okay with
this
insulting She-Hulk. Thank you.
This is like if they wanted James Gunn, but they couldn't get him, so they hired James Gunk. And this was the like.
This has
30 minutes
all over it.
Jody, I made it 30 minutes into watching this, and I had to turn it off last night. I was like, I found out that my wife had COVID last night, and then immediately afterwards started watching that.
And you're
got
like,
30 minutes into it.
Like, which is worse, COVID or this movie?
Literally, I went in and saw Claire, and I said, Claire, I love you, but I'm fairly certain that I am suffering more than you are right now. So that lines it up.
I'd say that's a fair bet.
I just to not be fully negative, I want to talk about the things I kind of did like. I think that this cast does their best with what they're given, and I find some of them likable, even in their performances, in a sense. But that doesn't make up.
Yeah, I don't think the content really matched the actors. Like a lot of the actors in this are actually Canadian actors, so it's. With that, I've seen them in other roles and stuff like that. Like the girl, I can't remember her name, but the girl that plays Garrett, she's been in a lot of stuff, and she's actually a really great actress. But
it's amazing. Even Hannibal,
Hannibal, she was in, and when you look at Michelle Yeoh, who is a fantastic actress, and even a really good action movie person. Like this is a woman who's in her 60s now, and she's still kicking ass. Like. I'm totally for that, but it's just, it's, there's only a couple things I liked about it, but
I did like Casey Rawle as Garrett.
Casey Rawle, that's her name. Yeah.
I found with Michelle Yeoh as Georgiou, especially Mirror Universe, Emperor Georgiou in Discovery, she was sexy and evil and mysterious, but in this film, it was like they didn't give her the right content to portray that. It was very like Austin Powers rather than James Bond.
Oh, I don't even know if it's that.
There was no stakes.
I think it's more Spy Hard than.
There was no stakes. Her character had no teeth in this. She was way over the top, and like the needless sexual innuendos that in Discovery, her character worked those into the dialogue, and they were almost seamless. Like some of them, you're like, that's kind of odd. But in this, every single time someone made a sexual innuendo, I was like, that felt really shoehorned in and not organic. Like even half the jokes were.
Oh, the jokes were awful.
It's like they took everything that didn't work with Guardians of the Galaxy, ran it through software that was like, make this as worse as possible, and then we're like, print it, let's go.
Right. They were going for that vibe of like a section, like a Guardians of the Galaxy MCU Avengers style thing. But on the other hand, it's supposed to be about this Black Ops ruthless organization team that's trying to do whatever they can. On the other hand, it's trying its best to like make them all like likable and sort of relatable and protagonists and so I feel like these things are unsatisfying. I feel like even as a piece of entertainment, it's not great.
Well, and Into the Unknown, they said it earlier that it felt like a three episode show that literally they made into a movie and took a lot of crap out. And absolutely, I completely agree with that. I don't even know why they made this. Like, I figure, they probably still had Michelle Yeoh, or at least access to her. They paid her what? I think it's estimated $12 million for this role.
Did they?
$12 million for this.
Good for her. Good for her.
Like, you know what?
Well, they certainly didn't spend it on the CGI. This is not any of the actors' fault.
Yeah, the actors are not the problem here. And you know what? It's the production. It's everything else that's the problem in this. And, you have such a cool concept of Section 31. The bad guys of the utopia. You have that. Obviously, they're kind of going for kind of a Suicide Squad kind of thing going on as well. Where everybody's harping on everybody else. And it's like, and the audio mixing in this movie is terrible.
The scoring.
The scoring's not great either. I would give you that. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. After I watched it, I'm like, number one, it ends way quicker than you think it's going to end. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, how like Enterprise, we always complained about how Enterprise kind of like summed up the last 5 minutes, literally was like the complete ending of the whole show. And like everything was action until that. And then all of a sudden it's like, let's summarize it really quick. And then it's done. Right. And there's so many cool things they could have did with this. The Rachel Barrett character, I think, absolutely gets destroyed by the writing in this. Like, what a great character that you just, you completely wasted. Like,
I'm still struggling with the whole, like, okay, if they had called this movie Starfleet Intelligence or something, would I like it more than if it was called Section 31? Perhaps.
It's called Starscreet Suicide Squad.
I'm trying to put that part aside. Yeah, like they're like the Suicide Squad, or they're kind of like the mission, like Get Smart maybe or something, like like that version of Control.
No one should be making a movie that follows the idea of a DC enterprise, like a DC universe movie. Don't bother. Like, we already know that doesn't work. So like, why did you even bother?
It feels like they took every bit of feedback that they got from modern Trek and dismissed all of it, took only the stuff that people said they didn't like about it, and pumped it all into one 90-minute
I blame people. I blame the people that liked Discovery. I believe anybody who liked Discovery, this is your fault.
I loved Discovery, and this was not Discovery.
No,
this was absolute garbage.
I will push back on that too.
Your face is garbage, and I don't think you have a good point.
Discovery's not my favorite of all the Star Trek series, but I think you can watch it and enjoy it, and it's.
I agree, you can.
But
the only connection was Giorgio, and it was tenuous at best.
Yeah,
even the camera work in this is very Discovery.
The cinematography.
Davin had a lot of thoughts he was sharing with me over the last 24 hours. He says, not only is this a completely derivative with no plot, awfully regurgitated characters, and no style, it is derivative of every awful 90s TV pilot that didn't get picked up. If it had any redeeming qualities to pull it to a 1 out of 10, I didn't see any, and it would immediately be moved back down to a 0 to the cynicism and the check casher phonies that made it. This was made off the support of the well-meaning Trek fans that once again have been shit on by millionaires who pretend to be their friends, when people echo a silly phrase like all Trek is good Trek, they will feed you bad Trek, knowing you'll finish your plate and ask for seconds. DSN already did this concept a million times better. It's called The Magnificent Ferengi. Go watch it. Well, they also did Section 31 much better. But that's
I once said to you, Dave, that you put a delta on somebody in a story, and I will watch it happily as a clam. And
Right.
and to my credit, I don't think I saw a single Delta in this entire movie.
No.
So that might still be true.
There wasn't a Delta in this.
Well, technically, like
There was one
Rachel
at the
Garrett.
start.
Well, there you go. Then
You see it.
then I can no longer say that.
It isn't like when they're getting like their briefings and stuff. You'll see the Delta,
Oh, that's
and
true.
I guess
Yeah, the
and
Delta's all
on the
in
title
there.
card you see it.
The title card,
Um,
as well
you know-
as all the little.
Yeah, there were, but they weren't. They're not
After
prominent. We
headers.
never see Rachel Garrett in uniform, for instance, or anybody else.
Wouldn't that have been cool? A 30-second clip of her, being introduced to Section 31 in her
Or how about-
normal gear.
Or how about
Wouldn't it
any
happen?
character development whatsoever? How about we add some of that
We had
so that I
character
care,
development.
so that I
There
give
was
a
an
shit
entire
about
10
any of
minutes
these
about
people?
How Giorgio killed her own family. Like, we
Which
got
is
that.
just
Let's get into it, guy. I have all the.
All right.
I have some like about
we
some
have
300.
screenshots.
I have some
Okay.
300 screenshots, guys. So we can
Okay,
kinda
let's-
run through everything we saw. I'm gonna just take down the spoiler banner.
This
If
this
you don't know
gonna
by
be-
now,
Yeah, if
you
you don't
know.
know by now, like, piss off.
See,
No.
there's the Delta. Told you.
but it's backwards, Heather.
It is backwards.
Because it's
a
the
mirror.
mirror
It's a mirror universe. I did like that. I
Is
did
that what it's
like
meant
that.
to be?
Yeah,
Okay,
because it flips over to the other one.
This is the best turn in the whole movie right here, folks.
right. We start
I
off
like
with
this quote.
This
was a-
quote: "Fate, who makes the sword, does the forging in advance." But does Fate make swords? I don't quite understand. Oh, a Shalius? A Shalius? Is that how you say it?
A Skyless, I
A
think.
Skyless?
Skyless.
Oh, is
Yeah.
it a Skyless? Oh, I've obviously.
This is the quote. This is the line that title card we get to start off the film.
I'm okay with that.
Does anyone have a good analysis of what this quote means for like the overall story?
Well,
So-
basically, the person who makes the sword is the one who forges the way, essentially. So it's the
For your fate, your sword is forged already. By the time you've struck the first hammer blow, you've already forged that sword. It's about Giorgio and what she does with Stan's face. It's convoluted. It seems like it adds gravitas, but really it's just a slap in the face for everything that comes after.
I agree with you. Unless there's something more to this quote that I'm not getting. Okay, so as we go to this blacksmith, we'll find out is Giorgio's father, who's forging swords here on some place in the Terran Empire. We're not, I guess this could be on Terra or it could be somewhere else. It's not quite clear. We don't really know.
These titles are stupid too. I hate when they introduce titles that are like meshed into the actual background and stuff like that. Like you can see like on the bottom of your screenshot there, you can see like it's on the it's reflected on the water. I just hate that.
Fringe
I
is the
think it's
only
cool.
one that did it
I like
properly.
It's a stylistic choice. We could let's move.
This
let's
wasn't
roll.
needed.
We have a lot more to complain about.
We have a lot to get into than that.
That's not
You know,
even on the radar.
So
Let's put it that way.
let's try to stay on the important stuff. So anyway, so we see here on this, I guess, blacksmith / farm, whatever it's meant to be. We'll find out Giorgio's younger brother sees a young Philippa returning from somewhere in the Empire, looking a little battle worn. There's a reunion with the family. And while they're sitting down to the meal, this younger Giorgio sort of tells her story of what's been up. She's been in the Hunger Games, everybody. And they've done a Hunger Games, I guess, to find the next emperor from kids from there was 18 kids. And basically they've all been whittled down to 2. And, Peta and Katniss, they're not going to be able to eat the magical berries this time to escape the vibe. She says, I have one final trial left. By the way, the younger actress who plays the younger Giorgio, I don't know what, her accent's very different than Michelle Yeoh's. And she's basically whispering the whole thing.
I'm surprised she barely talks through most of this. So why didn't they just dub her? It would have made more sense to have.
If you got Michelle Yeoh to dub her?
Michelle Yeoh to dub her, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Because
again, this isn't even close to the problems with this thing. So.
But she's like, we were all from the different ends of the empire.
Yeah, I don't buy that Giorgio talks in wisps when she was younger.
So their budget clearly went to this scene and the one that immediately follows this one. And then they were like, okay, well,
We're done. We're out of money, guys.
Okay, throw the space station back in. Get me Jamie Lee Curtis.
Michelle Yeoh cashed her check.
We then find out that there's this whole she has like Michelle Yeoh, Philippa Georgiou has this ally in the Hunger Games named Son, who they were, even though it was forbidden, they whispered they loved each other to each other secretly, and they had this alliance. But there's one trial left, and she basically has to kill her family by poisoning the fondue or whatever they're having in here, the soup, and the mom's like, "What did you have to do?" And then we see go back to the soup, and that's the brothers
soup.
I'm not sure what. Maybe it's a fondue. Anyway, so the brothers, the young boy, she kills her young brother and her mother and father, and they're not too happy with her, quite frankly. But
no,
I guess
her mother has great acting going on there.
If you forgot that Georgiou was bad, Mirror Georgiou was bad. Just this is a reminder of it all. But I guess also but she's sad about it. She didn't want to. Then the Empire shows up. We see some of these ships.
This was really cool. The way the ship appeared out of the clouds, and then they beamed in all the troops, and they put the gold cape on her. That was amazing. That was
the beaming
really cool.
into the troops I liked.
Yeah.
Doesn't this whole scene retcon how the Emperor becomes the Emperor? Like, doesn't the Emperor have to kill the previous Emperor?
Usually, yes. Like, I don't know.
I believe this is the first Emperor.
No.
No, this is definitely not.
I know.
No, Hoshi was not even the first emperor, or empress rather. But
too bad we didn't get Hoshi.
I don't know who this character was meant to be. Maybe the previous emperor. Maybe I don't know. Like
I think she's more like a guidance person, like
like a chancellor.
She's a guidance counselor.
She's a guidance counselor. She's helping Georgiou find her
for the Hunger
career.
Games. Yeah.
Mirror Universal Oksana.
Yeah, there you go.
Roxana would eat that bitch up.
Son, the other rival in this Hunger Games, he didn't kill his family, but they burned them all. The Terrans killed them all anyway and burned down the village just for fun, I guess. So that's what Terrans do. And so, so Philippa has, gets the gold cape. She's now the empress or emperor. So Son's reward as the runner-up is that he gets to be her indentured servant for all time. Which she then chooses to burn his face with a sword. I don't know if this was part of the ritual or if this is something that she improv'd. But
they don't really explain that, do they? So it could have just been something she decided to do.
Well, she just murdered her whole family, and she's about to embark on a reign of terror and genocide. Like, are we really surprised about this here?
No, not really.
Not really. Like, nothing she does really surprises me. But it struck me as like, well, if she really, but she's also, this is like the one person that she really cares about, maybe aside from her family. And now that they're gone, he's kind of all she has left. But she's kind of, I guess, rejecting all her humanity or her tyrannity in this case. And so she's, I don't know.
I think this scene might have been a very ham-handed attempt to frame this Sans character as living by the sword and dying by the sword.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Not to mention, like, heating up a sword like that is going to remove the heat treat, and that's going to ruin the sword. But anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, her father literally just forged that as well, so I don't think it would really be tempered. But, whatever, let's move on.
Anyway.
It doesn't really matter, though, when you burn faces with it.
Ice cold with a red hot sword. I'm into this part.
Yeah.
This is the only good characterization of Georgiou in the whole film.
Maybe. I don't even know, but anyway, all hail Philippa Georgiou. Then we get our Mission Impossible exposition.
Yeah, I was waiting for the dynamite to start.
Briefing, as I'm listening to this, I'm like, I know the voice, and it's not until Jamie Lee Curtis shows up at the end that I realize it's her.
I spotted it right away.
That's really? I did not catch that.
I recognized the voice right away, and I also recognized how much of a cheap fucking knockoff of Charlie's Angels this whole goddamn sequence is.
Charlie's Angels, Mission Impossible. They're trying to go for this. Fun sort of.
I think it was more Mission Impossible, in my opinion.
Covert ops thing. Now we're told
Mission Impossible, it would have blown up at the end.
We're told that this is coming from Control. Now, did anyone see season 2 of Discovery? It was all about control, and control was this AI that was like running the Federation until it got corrupted by the thing, and then it turned into an evil thing, and that was the whole thing.
One
about
of
them
the
having
6 red MacGuffins during that era.
That's why the USS Discovery had to go to the 32nd century, was to stop control from getting all this stuff. But I guess there's a new version of control. That is maybe a cybernetic version of Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't know what the hell was going on here. But anyway.
She looked almost Borg.
I wish
more like Borging, am I right?
I wish they would have used like the LCARS interface. That would have tied it in to Star Trek more for me. You know? Even
this is like
variation on it. This is very
they got like the fonts and stuff, and like the whole like fonts and lines thing. But you're right. It could have at least resembled a little.
It could have been branded a lot better.
Yeah,
I think I spent more time on our thumbnail LCARs than they did on the effects for this scene.
Right.
And why does it say circa? No one in a report would put circa. Come on.
That's beyond the problem here, Jody.
I know.
Okay, so just if I'm trying to square the canon of it all, and so
entered.
So she came over to the main universe from the mirror universe in 2257 and joined Section 31. That's correct. But then she left with the Discovery and went to the 32nd century. And so we're told that, they lost contact for a few years. Now, this movie takes place in 2324. So it has been 67 years since she disappeared. Not a few, not a couple. We're
back though.
Nearly 7 decades.
And then you got a ship that is now a space station.
Yes, but they don't. That's not in the briefing.
True.
We also find out that there's this treaty that prevents the Starfleet from crossing over basically into the Alpha Quadrant, or most of the Alpha Quadrant at this time. Okay, and
that seems wrong.
But
I
whatever.
did like seeing this map though, and seeing like different planets that we know about from it, different systems, Maxia Zeta, and then the Badlands and Cardassia.
The Argus system,
Yeah, you can see Delta and Soria and Memory Alpha over here. Sure,
That's you're really like struggling to find something to like when you're like, I liked the map.
I like the AI thing.
Here's some deltas.
Here's some deltas for you. So I guess
this is some logos.
I guess this is the briefing that the team that is getting to go see Georgiou, right, including Garrett and the rest of them.
Yeah, that's how I thought.
But the Treaty of Catan, I've never heard of it, but
Same.
But okay.
Oh, there's Setlik. Look. The Setlik system.
Setlik's there, and here's the DMZ, and you got.
The good news is somebody went on Memory Alpha and they got all the planets and they just made a graphic with it. So that's great.
And here's the other thing: if they can't cross this border, so that's arguably going into enemy space. Why the flip would they put Memory Alpha right on the bloody border of it?
I don't know.
And on top of that, you can see the Argus arrays there.
And why is Starbase 17 on the other side of it?
Yeah. And
Starbase
almost like they didn't put a whole lot of thought into this.
No, I don't
or
think
Trill, for that matter.
And transmission.
And transmission. Don't dwell on these things, everybody.
Please. It's over, everybody. You can go home now.
Here's our title card for the which includes a Starfleet Delta. So I've seen they anyway. Then we get to see Philippa's space station, or Madame Dufranc, as she's known under her alias in this film.
Okay, Madame Veronique Dufranc is now my fake name for everything all the time.
I'm surprised you didn't label yourself in this as that. Quite honestly,
that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Now,
time.
Am I wrong? But is that star date not right?
It's I think it's meant to be the old TOS version of a star date, but I don't know. The star dates don't really matter.
And also, for the year this is set in, 23 something.
24.
Who the flip is building shit that looks like that?
I don't know. It's unclear who made this.
Far outside Federation space, so
which I guess is the reason that it could exist. The one I do have a positive. Oh, I just thought of a positive. The MacGuffin in this movie isn't red.
It turns red.
It turns red.
Oh shit! It does turn red at the end, doesn't it? Well, there we go.
Okay,
Sorry.
All right, Heather. Now we
Now
get
we're-
Michelle
now we're
Yeoh's
talking.
introduction. She's got the high heels and the outfit on.
And it's
I
like those
it's
chunky.
all like latex heels and gloves. And then when we first get a shot of her face, she's eating a fucking eyeball out of her martini. Mwah, chef's kiss, beauty.
Just want
This
to
whole
mention
scene, the music. I could have gone with this.
The film's kind of structured into 3 parts, and they kind of labeled them as like the 3 acts of the film are kind of labeled here. This is part 1, the One Night at the Baram. Mm-hmm. Which is the name of the station or the bar?
The name of the club, I think.
Oh, the club. Okay.
Club,
Yeah. Which is gorgeous. That I love it. I love all the set design in this. It's very cool. The singer in the middle with the outfit she was wearing and like the big ears and very, very cool.
I have a shot coming over there later. No, Giorgio's eating eyeballs.
Fifth Element.
Here's she's got the whole outfit. Like set design and that kind of stuff is not a problem here necessarily, or costuming. Here's your singer.
Love it.
That I guess the
I 100% agree with that. That the act names were probably old episode names.
They're probably
that's probably right. So they're trying to sell.
Because remember, this was supposed to be a mini series.
Yeah. Right. So she meets
if I had to watch 6 or 8 episodes of this, oh god.
The leader of the Section 31 team is called Alok Sahar, who we'll find out is not this character, but we have like the Delton, we got the Cameloid shapeshifter, as played by Sam Richardson, who I think Sam Richardson is very charismatic in the movie, but
I love him as an actor, and I hate him in this part.
Okay, well, hey. So,
and it's not his fault. I want to. It's the writing. It's not his fault.
Yeah,
he did well with what he had.
We got this Delton who can blow heart-shaped bubblegum. I guess
she's so cute. I like the Delton.
I wonder if she's still looking for Viger.
This guy looks like a moron.
Australian tech guy. His name
is the boomerang guy from
Zeph.
The boomerang guy from Suicide Squad, I think, or at least
as played by Robert Kaczynski plays him. We have
Seth,
the Vulcan, non-Vulcan. I think
worse than Cybok.
World Mind was saying that he. Now we'll talk about.
I like the nano idea. I didn't like that though.
We got Rachel Garrett serving some Sailor Mercury here.
Gorgeous, love it.
Stick up her butt. So far, it's coming out her mouth. I think is the line here. And of course, Alok, who we'll find out is this eugenics war carryover. Who was frozen by he's born a human, but then you got augmented later.
Why do we have to keep going to the eugenics war?
Well,
and that's also not how augments worked, but whatever.
There's a few things like these new era writers love to go back to. It's like Terrans, it's Mirror Universe, it's Vulcan Ponfar, it's all these like kind of things they just constantly harp on to I don't know, but like it's not I don't know, I find it tiresome sometimes, but anyway, so there's this whole thing where she's like, I already read your whole covert team, a 20th century human.
Yeah, he's right.
Who? And the eugenics wars were in the 21st century, so he would be a 21st century human, but
here's
whatever.
The thing. In the original continuity with like Ricardo Montalban and all that, the eugenics wars happened in the 20th century. But then in Discovery, they retconned, or not Discovery, Strange New Worlds recently. They retconned it so that Khan was born much later and he grew up in Toronto. And, the eugenics wars happened in the 21st century. So they're not even
out near a Dollarama. It was
they're not even being consistent with Strange New Worlds and what they've kind of retconned in
It's pretty years. Sad when Kurtzman can't even keep his own shit together. Like, come on.
He's checked out.
Anyway,
this guy.
This guy.
Yeah.
His whole suit, his whole shtick, just go away.
Now, Robert Kaczynski, who plays him, was kind of like he was already criticizing this movie before it even came out.
Good
and
for him.
I see exactly why now.
He was like, it's not Star Trek. It's not very Star Trek, this movie.
This is one of those things where he's like, somebody's like, hey, you want to be in Star Trek? And he's like, fuck yeah, I want to be in Star Trek. And then you find out is this. Yeah.
It's kind of like the
Madam
who
Web Star Trek moment.
Yeah, who want to be in the MCU, and then they had up in Madam Web or
this is the Madam Web of the Star Trek universe.
Right.
Oh God, I don't even know if it's like that good.
I will say, at least I made it through this. I don't even watch
the Marvel stuff, and I get that joke. So
now there's the micro guy.
The nano guy
who
lives inside the
worst
CGI.
robot. the worst CGI, the worst CGI camera work. Like whoever greenlit any of the cinematography in this needs to be slapped.
Oh, it's brutal.
Y'all, I hated this so much. It's giving Jar Jar Binks bullshit.
This should have been in Men in Black 2. That's what I feel like.
I think it might have
straight
been.
out from.
It might have been. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, like as a concept, I like it, but in execution, not so much. This guy's like Scottish accent.
I think it was supposed to be Irish.
Oh, Irish. Okay.
That was actually Worldwide made a pretty good joke about that earlier. He said something along the line of artificial Irishman or something like that. AI.
Yeah.
I love the Delton.
Yeah. Artificial Irish Vulcan. Yeah. The Delton.
I agree with them. I like the idea of the nano species, but wow.
Yeah. And then her powers are that she can romance people or basically like put them under like a glamour spell.
Can we stop with the Deltons? They're so bloody boring. Why is the point of having them in anything?
Well, I mean, in all fairness, they solved that problem pretty quick.
Yeah,
That's true. I was actually pretty happy about that.
I will say that I did like the way they did that intro to all the crew. It was very like heist movie, Oceans, Charlie's Angels, kind of
and I was almost excited. I was like, oh, maybe this is gonna be good.
That's definitely the vibe they're trying to go for, is like a heist movie of Ocean's 11 sort of thing, but I don't know.
A heist movie that stays in one place most of the movie, which is weird.
We find out there's this Minoshan from Minos Corva, this guy Dada No. Well, then we'll find out he's the mirror counterpart actually. But
what is up with all of the bionic tech in this movie looking like absolute 80s trash?
I don't know.
RoboCop did this better.
They spent all their money on costumes.
I've seen shit that was featured on MSTK 3000 that's got better practical effects than.
I would say some of the movies that we're seeing on Mystery Science Theater were probably.
I hope that they make this into a Mystery Science Theater 3000 Federation edition.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
it won't happen.
So there's all these debriefing, and then they give us this whole like sequence where, our plan was to then subdue you, Georgiou, and then the shapeshifter guy was going to take your place. And I like the look of the effect of the shapeshifting with this.
Yes,
that was neat.
That was
that was really cool. I like that.
One of 3 times it's used.
Yeah, but it looks fine. And then then Georgiou decides to join the team and help out with this. And so on her space station, she uses this phase device to put it out of phase, and then does the same to herself.
How bad is Section 31 though, when like Georgiou could figure out who everybody was before they even introduced themselves?
Yeah,
like she's like, oh, that's from somebody from Section 31. That's somebody.
What kind of clandestine organization operates like the sloppy shit show this turns out to be?
Yeah, true.
Then our mystery villain, everybody, if you didn't know who it would be,
if you didn't figure out who this was,
who this could be,
you need to smack your head across multiple surfaces because wow.
Right. The turn on this was so ham. This is about the time where I literally out loud said my first JFC and threw my hands up into the air.
Norman saying he wanted this to be good.
14th. I think that we need to make space for future Star Trek movies in there. Let's put this at 32nd.
Into Darkness was better than this.
Oh, that's not.
Yeah, I would say I enjoy. I don't like it.
You know what? I can't.
I hate Into Darkness, but
you can't. I mean, you probably saw what I said to Evan about the other movies the other day, but yeah, I can get behind that. I enjoyed Into Darkness.
And we all know how I feel about Nemesis, so we can't slap.
So our mystery villain, who will certainly Son, her old friend that she burned with the sword, but we don't know that, of course, officially yet. And so the Delton gets vaporized as part of the team here in the bar, and this
I was bummed about that.
This was fantastic. This might be the best scene in the entire movie.
I thought that this looked incredibly painful, and it's unusual to see it depicted quite this way. So I guess
it definitely was a mirror universe style disruptor.
It was.
Deltas need to be written off and never be seen again.
What I didn't like about, like, I loved the visually everything about this whole bar sequence with a few, like, there's some writing issues with it. We'll talk about that later. But with the Delton, I really felt like we just didn't get enough character development at all to give a shit that she gets vaporized right there.
Oh yeah, you see her vaporize and you're just like, okay.
There's no investment.
She had like 3 lines before she died, right? You know,
Yeah.
and so we like before we even get a chance to
And none of them were needed. So
yeah, so like, but I guess to like, I don't know, they wanted to kill off a character in the first beat, so that she was the one who drew the short straw.
Make us care about the character first, then. Like, you know, but
and then we see that so Michelle Yeoh fights with Son or whoever it's supposed to be. You know, they go a lot of martial arts, and then eventually, you know, he kind of gets the upper hand. We see that the case opens, and she sees what's inside, which is this device from her universe that she says she ordered destroyed, and it turns out it's basically a doomsday device. It's kind of like the equivalent of a nuclear weapon in space that it can destroy an entire quadrant.
It's a fire virus that burns planets and yada yada.
No.
But not ships, though. But not ships. Very important that it doesn't hurt ships. It just goes from planet to planet.
Oh, okay.
Because if it hurts ships, then the whole ending falls apart.
Absolutely.
Well, it already did. Anyway, so then we get this flashback exposition. The Terran Empire a lifetime ago. By lifetime, well, I guess from Michelle Yeoh's or from George's perspective, not that long ago. But
I did like this dragon tail thing. I thought that was kind of neat.
That was a neat set piece.
Yeah,
Son brings in the device, that this godsend device. Apparently, all the engineers killed themselves right after it was created. How dedicated. And then
it saves ordering them to their death.
Son then we find out Son poisons himself and seemingly commits suicide, which she's sad about. I don't know.
This is a bummer because I just didn't buy any connection between them. This is supposed to be the great love of her life, interconnected throughout her lifetime.
Take $1 million away from her salary and go get an actor that she's actually connected with before, and then make him the main guy. I think that would.
Or maybe have Son brought up at some point during any of the other episodes featuring Filippo Giorgio.
Sorry, Heather, I'm delayed. I think I just cut you off. I'm sorry.
Maybe use anything that connects it to any other Star Trek property other than Rachel Garrett.
MacGruber is better than this Schlagfist. Anyway,
can't even argue with that.
We come back to the main timeline where Georgiou is now in restraints under a lock, and there's kind of like this whole thing where she explains what the device is and that they're going to need to work together to stop this from being used. So then
no stakes at all.
Our second part, the Godsend, Code of Transmission 2, you're probably right, was meant to be like the next episode of the show, where we head to this planet that is constantly spitting out fire, yet none of the trees burn.
Lots of Princess Bride nods in this. Like, this is obviously a nod to the fire swamps.
Yeah.
There's another nod to Princess Bride later on.
I'm pretty sure this is the same quarry in Dundas they go to for Strange New Worlds and Discovery all the time.
I think it might be. Yeah.
They just keep recoloring the.
They just put whatever lens color they want on.
Yeah, on it.
You can notice the escarpment in one of the shots when they're in the forest. Like, I'm like,
oh, really?
I'm making there.
Heather also is not an Ontario person. She doesn't.
Oh no, I know what you're talking about because of Sarah Harmer's song, "The Escarpment Blues."
Oh, there you go.
Sarah
I grew up
born in Burlington.
With the escarpment.
Yeah.
Yes, Sarah Harmer. Mm-hmm.
Son's name was dropped on Discovery. Apparently, okay.
Oh, was it?
In what context?
I will have to go back into that.
I'm not. Going back to Discovery
also, why are there like plumes of fire going up everywhere?
Well, best guess.
The impression it's like a gas planet or something.
Maybe there's methane under the surface or something. But
something. Yeah.
I don't know.
I have another question.
I think they just hung out at Stelco.
What was the point of having a secret a clandestine base on this planet when it doesn't have a working transmitter array? Who would go through the time to set up a clandestine safe house and not have a working transmitter array?
I don't even think they explain why they come to this specific planet, do they?
No, because they didn't need to.
All right.
I think that's kind of the general arc of this entire movie is they don't explain anything. They just show it to you and then go, yeah, it's good, right?
We get more banter here between the characters.
The banter in this movie is
insulting each other and I don't know, whatever. And I don't know. And
look at me trying to be discovered.
The Lucky Charms Vulcan guy. God, I hate him.
Hates it. Same.
He's irritating. Yes.
Oh,
so irritating.
And he has a huge part of this movie. Like he's
Wish
he's
he
not
was
He
the
even-
has
one
a
that got
lot of
vaporized.
dialogue in this movie.
yeah,
too.
more so than the Delton or anybody else, right?
Well, yeah.
They
Anyway,
should have killed him off at the start and kept the Delton.
That would
Yeah.
You know what? Even though I don't like the Daltons, I agree.
Just make it that the Delton's mind was affecting everybody instead of it being a mini little whatever the hell that thing was supposed to be.
We get this whole like interrogation scene where Georgiou
I would have
goes
liked
after,
to know what she said.
after Minos Corvin and the Minotian picking his nose and getting. We find out he's from the mirror universe that he brought over the thing, the ion storms. Before there's this huge attack on their ship and they're under attack. We find out that basically right after this. Oh, by the way, the Minotian guy gets immolated, burned to death here. And they're like, there's a mole amongst us. Somebody sabotaged our ship. And there's a transmitter, but we got to get it working. But somebody stole the part. And there's this garbage scow for some reason on a river that that will end up becoming the ship, I guess, of the new crew.
Comment.
I can imagine Ethan Hunt would run away very vigorously from this mission.
You see him climbing back up the rope.
He probably ran away from the script.
I don't even think Maxwell Smart would take this on, or Inspector Gadget for that matter.
Inspector Gadget would say no. Even Penny would be like, I ain't sending that dog with me. No way.
Dr. Claw was like, this is sloppy.
There's this whole part where they're looking for the saboteur, and they can't find Seth, the mech guy, and then we find out he's dead, been killed here in the forest.
I was
forest,
expecting him to run into Tasha Yar.
The forest that
like
heaps
that type of thing.
There's so much fire in this forest, yet it doesn't catch on fire, and with all that stuff going on in California right now, with all the fires, it's kind of like, what the hell? It just feels really.
They could have saved so much money. They could have saved so much money.
Anyway, Seth's dead. Won't miss him, but he won't. But don't worry, he's not done in the film yet. He'll come back to life. So there's this whole thing where Georgiou, they think that Rachel Garrett's the mole, but then
Rachel Garrett does not need to pull her hair back.
Because there's all this evidence that's been planted on her and the dead body, but then I guess Georgiou, being like the master detective she is, she puts it together that it was not Rachel
like
Garrett.
If this is what Starfleet has for like the best of Section 31, oh lordy.
Well, if you look at this and this is how if you take this and extrapolate that this is how in certain showrunners' minds Starfleet operates, you can kind of see the shit show that Starfleet is by the 32nd century.
Yeah, they're not nearly as good as they used to be.
But we're still in the 24th here.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So this whole about how the little nano guy, he went out and then he went inside the mech guy's suit and got him to kill himself. And apparently we find out that the Vulcan robot body can go in autopilot, which will keep.
Yeah, Murphy, that's an early version of Data.
Well, she's using an Android to scan. I don't know. And then, but this whole like the Vulcan autopilot is pretty inconsistent, and what the autopilot body can do and how much personality it has or not is inconsistent. Because there'll be this fight at the end between
where suddenly it's not flat anymore.
Yeah, it's not flat. It has all this like contact. I don't know. Anyway, so they we find out that he's been working with San, I guess, and then he escapes. There's this whole like chase sequence down like a mine shaft that comes where
which
the coolest
looks
part
like
was when the
Disney ride.
When
anybody have a Sega CD back in the 90s? This was Sewer Shark. Same idea.
When Quasi the Cameloid character has to like save Alaf here in the that was like okay, I guess it kind of
turns into a giant spider
plant thing. I don't know.
Creature thing.
Yeah. Anyway, like I'm just trying to find the positives, guys.
I was okay with that, I guess.
And then there's a fight up in the sky here with Georgiou and the annoying Irish Vulcan guy, who he reveals, oh, San's alive and he's coming to get you, and and she's like, what? And that he faked his death by taking small amounts of poison to be able to,
which is the other nod to Princess Bride.
Right. Then we see San's ship, which kind of looks a lot like La Sirena, if I have to be honest here, like a bigger version of it from
somebody just brought that model into like
again,
Blender, and they're like, let's
this
just
model.
things.
doesn't belong in this time period.
I don't know. It was like I don't. Is this meant to be from the Mirror Universe? I think it is, but
I think it is. Yeah.
Anyway, as Son then helps his little Irish Vulcan nano guy with repairs, taking the knife out that Georgia put in his back, and
here, this. Why is it stored on the back of the captain's chair, just hanging out, centered on the back of the? Because he built this ship.
Off, but what happens if you just like accidentally hit it? Like what? Is there
it starts a sequence, and it needs her handprint. It shows you that later when they drop it.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, he can't even activate it without her, can he? Like,
no, he can't. There's so many plot holes in this.
So he feels like he should have kidnapped her, and then the rest of the team maybe has to save her or something.
Whoa, hold on. Is this the same guy that she hit with the knife in the?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, what a reveal! Anyway. So
yeah.
But what is it?
Did you not get that? Was it not clear?
Is his plan to detonate it in the Mirror Universe, or is that what actually? What was
it? Because they want to detonate it. No, they want to detonate it in the.
Well, that's what it sounds like.
Because
but then at the end.
Because they even said, or at least
the resources.
They said that the reason why is because they wanted the resource from the non-Mirror Universe.
That's because they've drained. Yeah, okay, but at the end when he's explaining it, it almost sounds like he's trying to take it back into the Mirror Universe and start over there. And I'm like, what is happening?
Why is he going to the Ion Storm portal to anyway? Like, why is that part? I don't know. Like. These aren't even the biggest problems I have, but now I'm thinking about it. Anyway, so we find out that the power cell of the garbage scow was hid by Aloft because he didn't know who the mole was, and then he puts it back in. So now they can fly this garbage scow Nebuchadnezzar kind of thing from the Matrix.
I'm okay with this. You know what? You got to work with what you got, but I'm pretty sure a garbage scow does not go anywhere near as fast as a normal starship. So.
Was it doesn't the Klingon, aren't those two Klingons hauling garbage in lower decks, and couldn't they go no faster than warp 4? Am I making that up?
No, I think you're close to that. Yeah,
the chances are that it's not as fast as a ship, but
I like the idea of garbage.
Jason in the chat says this movie is why humanity is still on trial.
A savage race, a child race. Here we are.
That's fair, Q.
I'm not even going to deal with this shit.
We're in the third act now, I guess. The passageway, it's called,
or the third episode, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, the passageway. I kind of liked the weird shield effect in this. Yeah, and there's the Emperor's sword. There's the living and dying by the sword.
A Skyless quote.
I wonder
the
if
middle of the. Yeah, right.
Yeah. We find out that this garbage thing, it has a bunch of tractor beams that they can use to sort of
they fly into an orbit of a planet and grab all the satellites and
grab all the garbage.
This was a neat effect. I did like the this was like a lightning ball that I had from the It store when I was a kid.
The It store.
Yeah. So Georgiou and Aloft, they end up beaming over to Son's ship to retrieve the godsend, and then there's a whole fight. Lots of fire. The pyrotechnics budget alone on this movie.
They spent a lot of money on fire.
Yeah.
Lots of fire money. Big fire money.
Big fire movie.
Yeah.
What's that? Tropic Thunder levels of fire money.
Oh yeah.
But the MacGuffin then turns red finally.
Red.
And here comes the red MacGuffin. God damn it.
It's red.
Hey, now I just want to
guys.
I want to point something out. I don't. Maybe it's just me, but does anybody else feel kind of like the Terran Empire in this movie specifically is really leaning into the Imperial Chinese imagery with a lot of things? Anybody else notice that? With
I do notice it, but I don't disagree.
Gold filigree and everything, and it's just.
Well, they did that even in the original series.
Yeah, I just wish they would maybe
there was
mask it a little better.
Dynasty kind of thing going on.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so there's a fight here with Aloft and what's the Vulcan guy's name? Or
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Buzz.
Throw away.
Lucky Charms.
Anyway, right where he's like,
Buzz off.
We find out that his species actually ruled the galaxy before they found the behemoths, and they don't need the Federation. And this, I don't know, that was more Russian than Irish, but whatever. And
I think it was more authentic than his Irish accent.
It was
maybe.
Watch it be an Irish actor.
I don't know. This whole this final act fight and everything else. We of course, you got Michelle Yeoh, so you want to do some more martial arts, which is why I think the Son character, or whoever, specifically the actor they get to play him, is just a martial artist that can keep up with Michelle Yeoh.
I don't even think the actor is an issue here. I think it's just the writing.
Yeah,
and the fight choreography just seemed off.
Yeah.
There was fight choreography.
Georgiou, I've never seen so much fighting with hugging built in.
Yeah, there's a lot of like groping while trying to hurt people.
Right, and remember that they're still both Terrans. Like I think they could only get so good here. But she was like, there are no benevolent dictators. You taught me that. The Dragon Empress. There's this whole part here where Rachel Garrett has to go into like the hold of the garbage ship, and because she loves order and structure, she has to kind of overcome her OCD, I guess, or her own issues with that. So she keeps telling herself she finds this weird, creepy doll thing.
This screamed Star Wars. I was waiting for these walls to start closing in on her.
Yeah, you're like,
that's the thing. As soon as they went into that room, Jane went Star Wars. Like when she saw like that garbage and all that mangled metal, she was like, So anyway,
and Star Wars did it better, just so you know.
They were like, "Oh, people love this scene from Star Wars."
You're right. Yeah. We find out that this doll can be blown up, and so Rachel Garrett, as a science officer, is able to.
Well, it's a banned substance that it's powered by.
Right.
So the battery that's built in.
So she can use it as
the same substance that powers the. If you listen, it's the same substance that powers the fuel rod. So this ship is whatever technology dues or duels or I don't know, whatever the hell.
Yeah, I can't remember what they said it was.
That's their ship, so that's why it contains this garbage.
Awful. Yeah,
I like the toy.
And she opens it up and pours Mountain Dew into it, and then
and then for some reason the doll changes what it says completely and says,
always
"I'm going to die" for some reason. That's true. You do have to
do, Heather.
If Honey Boo Boo taught me anything, it's that you need your go-go juice.
No, I think if anything will. If anything we learned from this movie is that Mountain Dew could kill you.
I guess so.
Clearly.
Can use explosives. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, and then there's this whole part where Quasi has to then eject the garbage, but he can't quite read the display. It could mean open the bay, but it could mean self-destruct the ship. So
I love those 90s Palm Pilot style consoles.
Yeah, where it's just like all little like 1-bit icons.
Yeah,
he's just got to have to make. She's like, you just gotta have to make a call. Kind of going back.
And who makes an interface where when you touch a button it turns red? Come on.
But this doll was so annoying. Like, I hated it. And we already knew that, Jody. More fighting. More. Oh yeah, the Fez gets stabbed in the head, but then we find out he's on autopilot and he's actually in the middle of the debris field.
And suddenly he has emotion when he tells them it was on autopilot.
Yeah, I'm like, why is this? Yeah, I don't know. I hated that too. And then
I want to be positive. I hate shitting on everything like this, but like, God, I didn't find anything.
I went into this thinking I'm gonna find something good about it, and honestly, what Heather mentioned at the beginning was literally the only thing I liked.
I asked for you to just even within your thing, even if I don't like this story or whatever, like try to stay consistent with like some kind of like thing I can get behind in this, right? And
anything. Have one thread of consistency at least.
So here's my next thing that really struck this final act fight between Georgiou and San, where he's over top of her with his knee on her head, with the sword right into her face down here, and she's supposedly holding this up with her hands and maybe her right leg, but I was like, there's no way.
Her foot looks like it's bracing his
if
arm.
If there's a man above you with a sword going into your face with all his weight, there's no way you can fight back against that. Like
leverage.
It's just not possible. But not only does she do that, but in this, she manages to kick up.
And she gets marked. Notice how the sword then marks her face, which bookends her marking his face. But it will be healed. It will be
healed by the final.
The Terran Empire does not have anything to do with leverage. Come on. They don't even know what that is.
That leg's doing it. Stop it, World Mind. So, so anyway, she's able to kick up and not only get out of this situation, but San then hits himself in the his artery with the sword, and this will be his death. now that he's bleeding to death, and it seems like a dermal regenerator could have done the job pretty quick. But anyway, he dies, and now they're headed towards the portal. But they've got to get the godsend over to the mirror universe, I guess, is the plan here. But Georgiou and Alok, they seem like they are stuck on the ship. They can't. There's no transporter lock. And I thought, if anything, maybe like that's her redemption story, is that she gave up her life to then.
That would have almost made it. That would have made it better.
Like she gave up her life, and she did change, and we find out that Alok, coming from the eugenics wars, has this dark past too, and he has redded his ledger, if you will, that he's trying to make up for. It seems like that they're going to sacrifice themselves to save everybody, but
Section 31 isn't where you put the people that want to redeem themselves. That's not what they're there for.
We couldn't have them do that, Dave, because that would add some emotional weight to his scene, and we weren't going for that.
I was like, okay, die, but no. They go into the portal, and we're told that they can't get them out, and Rachel Garrett and Quasi seem like they could be the only survivors of this, but then there's this flash, and at the end of it, who's above Rachel Garrett? But it's Georgiou. She's fine. I guess Quasi did get them out in time. And this is the cringiest thing about the Rachel Garrett thing for me. Her hugging Georgiou, like, who she I'm like, this makes me respect Rachel Garrett a whole hell of a lot less right here.
Absolutely.
And so you've put this into the storyline that Rachel Garrett is best friends with a mass murdering like psycho.
First female captain in the Federation.
Well, first female captain of the Enterprise,
Of
but
the Enterprise,
more specifically. But
you're right. But still, like, come on, what a way to kill a legacy.
But this is before she did any of that. Anyway, final transmission. Our epilogue.
I will say, when I saw this, I was like, oh, it's almost over.
Yeah, we go back to the space station ship thing, and Georgiou, her face is fine. She got some plastic surgery. That sword to the through her cheek is all good. All involved in the making of this and besmirching Rachel Garrett should be shunned forever. Yeah,
I don't
For
normally
once,
agree with
I
Davin,
can't argue with you.
but I agree with Davin 1,000% on that.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I love this disco ball, high shoulders,
This outfit is amazing.
Look, gorge, and the earrings and the gems on the eyes.
It looks
Very
fine.
nice.
Michelle Yeoh can be a very beautiful looking woman. Like, and half the movie she spends looking terrible. Like, I don't get it.
Stately. She looks very stately in this in this
I don't
outfit.
even think stately is the right way to.
But not.
Anyway, I'll allow it though.
This whole thing where we think it's Alok, but it's actually Quasi in disguise. And, I don't know.
The third use.
Rachel Garrett's been promoted to lieutenant commander.
Oh, good.
Woo! And she's best friends with this team, and she's going to be their like supervisor. Like, the whole thing was that Starfleet couldn't enter past this border, but since she's a Starfleet officer, she's technically they're like.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense.
They say earlier that she's there just to monitor them, basically.
But if she's discovered, that's a treaty violation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, then they've discovered Starfleet over there, so they might have all just sent a ship.
Unless it's meant to be like a Mission Impossible, we'll disavow any knowledge of you or something. But I don't know.
I'm surprised they didn't use the term disavow at all in this movie.
But then why would they have used the rest of these misfits and not? Nah, you know what? No, I'm not going to try to give logic to this.
Costume design was probably the highlight of the. Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, I would agree.
The non-mechanized.
Yeah, the ones that didn't have
very
stuff
good.
plastered on their faces.
Oh, and in case you were
and
worried,
this.
if that Fuzz was really dead forever, which I was not. He's still, the actor is still brought back, but now we find out this is Fez's wife inside, who got a southern accent. And I guess
I hated that too. Terrible.
This was awful.
Everything about that character.
Well,
was awful.
his wife's in that one, right?
Then we get their next Mission Impossible briefing. There's more Delta. I guess this is coming from Starfleet.
Oh, look,
it's
more shitty mech tech.
Jamie Lee Curtis with all these implants all over her face. As she's giving that. Have you ever heard of Turkana 4? Or is it Your Mama 4?
Yeah. That's a great joke to end this on. Let's print that.
Yeah.
Turkana 4 being
and we're wrapped.
The planet from where Tasha Yar comes from, but anyway. And
now, okay, is this an ending sequence, or is this stupid fucking space station actually warping away?
Hey.
Yes.
DS9 moved.
Never went to warp.
No, that's true. It never went to warp.
And I'm like, well, if this could do it the whole time, why didn't you just take the space station on the mission?
There are a lot of questions like that.
If you already owned, if it could do this the whole time, why did you need those other ships?
Maybe it doesn't have any defenses.
Anyway, guys,
neither did the garbage scow.
That's all the screenshots. This was directed by Olatunde Usu. I'm sorry if I'm not saying it.
He directed a lot of Discovery.
He's directed a lot of like Strange New Worlds and Discovery episodes. He's really good behind the camera. I don't think his eye is bad or anything, but story wise, I guess Craig Sweeney and Bo Yeon Kim and Erica Lippolt were to blame for all this.
I'm pretty sure someone could make a better movie on TikTok than this.
I'm gonna say that these people were partly responsible. I'm gonna put a lot more weight on the studio. I'm gonna put a lot more weight on the studio for how bad this turned out.
I forgot that. It's from the Strange New Worlds episode, or no, the Lower Decks episode with that. That bird. No, it's on the Orion planet. That bird that the Orion queen has, and it goes. I was just a
the only thing I can say that was good about having to watch this was I got to be in a podcast with Heather beside me.
Aww.
You guys were okay,
yeah.
But...
you know what? That's 90 minutes of my life that I will never get back.
Yep. I feel like if I'm shortchanged 90 minutes at the end of my life, I'm going to blame Kurtzman for it.
Question here from Into the Unknown. Why when the fight on the station happened did no security from the station she owns assist?
Good question.
They couldn't afford featured extras.
Couldn't afford extras?
They have full faith in her beating the shit out of everybody on her own.
There you go.
I mean, that's probably the actual truth.
They were probably just hanging out. They're like, she's got it.
Is there any trivia to speak of here before we move into rating?
I was too busy trying not to start off yelling at the beginning of this stream to do any dives into any of these.
Johnny English kind of.
Okay, well, I got a couple. Where you got the Delta details? Okay, the character Rachel Garrett, played by Casey Roll in this film, first appeared, of course, in the Next Generation episode Yesterday's Enterprise as Captain Garrett of the USS Enterprise C. She also dies in that episode, so we also know how this character. She kind of dies very sort of randomly without any kind of meaning when the Klingons attack in that alternate future.
And she got to be on a ship with Shooter McGavin, so that's always good.
I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
So Virgil, who was the half black, half white guy, who I think it was maybe my favorite character in this movie, just her little assistant guy. Oh, the madam would like an appointment.
Yeah, I love his attitude.
Everybody in the comments, start giving us your ratings. I want to see.
Yeah, he's the first. We don't even know the name of the species, but they're from the planet Charon. In the original series episode, "Let That Be Your Last Battlefield," and Melee, who is the first Deltan seen since Lieutenant Aaliyah, since the motion picture, and Quasi is the first Cameloid we've seen since Marty.
We didn't need her anyway.
Martius in Star Trek VI in Discovery Country. I actually think this fact is wrong about the Deltans. We did see some Deltans in Star Trek Picard season 2, episode 1.
We did indeed.
Oh, you're right. Yes, we did.
Yeah. In terms of
I'd rather watch Picard season 1 and 2 again.
This is the only movie in the Star Trek franchise without a Starfleet officer in uniform.
It's probably because Starfleet sent them a note from the future saying, "Hey, no, you can't use our uniforms. Not for this.
Terrible. Don't be us anymore."
This is the only movie in the Star Trek franchise to feature no Federation starships.
That's not true. There was a Federation starship, and they were on it, and it blew up.
You mean well, we don't know if it's a Federation starship. It's a Section 31.
It had a full LCARS set up. I'm going to go with Federation.
Okay.
It kind of looked like this one.
It is never stated what is used to power the Godsend. Only that it is a destructive force powerful enough to affect an entire quadrant. And she also says quadrant very strange.
It's powered by the tears of Star Trek fans from the 90s.
The only thing seen previously in Star Trek with that level of destructive force that could fit in such a small device is an Omega molecule, first seen in the Voyager episode, the Omega Directive. The Omega is a highly unstable molecule. So maybe it's Omega technology, but they don't say that. Jamie Lee Curtis's cameo as Control, the Section 31's team handler.
Adam, we don't watch it.
Yeah, save yourself 90 minutes, buddy.
Well, know what? You know what? Find anything else to do for 90 minutes, and you're already ahead of the game.
Anyway, let's get into our ratings, everybody. We got to put a score down. This will be the first film.
Can I spoil my ballot?
Can I vote for Nemesis?
I'm giving this a score of 0.5 for the couple of things I liked. Wow. Davin's giving this a 0. I think he would like to get it negative, probably. Jody, what are you gonna give this episode?
I'm gonna give this a 0.069.
Okay,
because it's funny.
That's gonna round up to 0.1.
Damn it!
And
spoiled again, by the way.
Adam's watching it. Justin, you're up.
I'm going to do a 0.1.
0.1.
And the only thing I liked, the opening sequence with the ship zippity-doing around the delta that turned from the mirror to the actual, and the sound and set design for the whole shiggity bang in the Baram. And everything else can fuck right off.
2 out of 5.
Is much better than us.
2 out of 5. That's a 4 out of 10.
That's a 4 out of 10. Wow, that's a lot.
Heather,
I'm going to give it a 3 for Michelle Yeoh's blue vinyl outfit and Michelle Yeoh's disco ball outfit also and Michelle Yeoh's dragon gold tape moment. It's a 3.
You've talked me into a 1 now.
Just for looks.
He's revising his to a 0.0. Norman is. Well, that's a lot of zeros. Okay.
I will change mine to a 0.2 for Heather's points.
2.
I at least went to a 1.
World Mind, do you have a rating? I would love to know.
I can predict what his rating's going to be. 0.
You think?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Well, that explains World Mind's answer.
Sums it up.
Well, I think this... Can you change the...
No, Sam, it is not.
Yes, it is.
Sam, is this better than the motion picture? And I would say no.
I hate the motion picture.
What would you give the motion picture, Heather?
0.
0. Okay.
Really? It's not that bad.
Justin, what would you give the motion picture?
I would give the motion picture a 3.
Okay, which is... I gave it a 2 at the time when we rated it.
I gave it a 2.5.
Is this as bad as Assignment Earth, Jody?
Oh, good question.
Ooh.
Is it as bad? I think it's worse than Assignment Earth.
Okay. Well, so
that's
we're gonna look
gauge. Assignment Earth is always my gauge.
So just to look here at the aggregate, we're averaging a 0.8, which is not even a 1.
Well, you didn't change mine yet. I put it up to a 1.
You did?
Yeah, I said I would put it up to a 1 for the costumes.
Why do we have the averages divided by gender? I just saw a column.
Oh, I always like to look at the stats.
Because
I really brought the curve up here.
Well, you're the only woman who's voted so far, but I don't think Jane's gonna give this a very high.
The women of Live Long and Podcast are much smarter than the men, so we had to make sure that they would be separated.
You can see here, well, but when you look at the aggregate averages, they're the same.
They are the same. That's funny.
That is funny.
Right.
So you guys clearly aren't as smart as us.
I think we're all equally dim.
We
all sat through 90 minutes of this voluntarily. Yeah, so what does that tell you? We all watched
this shit, so maybe we're all stupid.
So this is our lowest rated Star Trek film so far.
Right, Nemesis. Yeah. Nemesis is not bad anymore.
Nemesis. Nemesis. What do we?
3.1. Like a piece of art compared.
Nemesis looks like a great thing comparatively right now. So
Nemesis was fantastic compared to this.
So anyway, that's our first Star Trek film to rate in 9 years, so we can celebrate that at least.
Actually, let's not celebrate it. Maybe
no, Vulcan Rumble, it does not have that excuse. It was not filmed during COVID. This was a completely post-COVID production. Welcome to the state of media.
Oh, you're talking about that one? Yeah.
No.
No. This had nothing to do with COVID, by the way.
All right. Heather, I know you need to get going.
Listen, fellas, I got to get going. Thank you for hating this with me.
Best part of this was Heather.
I wanted to
like this so much.
I was so stoked for this.
There definitely were some good things about it, but they were all in the realm of fashion and look. There was very little for me tying this to Section 31 or Star Trek, period. And it just didn't have much substance. And I'm really sorry to say that.
Yeah, me too. I wish, for all our sakes, I wish we could have had something better here. And, and I don't know.
High hopes for this.
I think it shot for fast paced, and it ended up being rushed and ham-handed. I can't say anything good about it other than the costume design and 2 of the sets.
Can somebody get rid of Kurtzman now? Like, do we have any more proof?
I always say,
rumors are.
If you use a sports analogy, and like if Kurtzman was like the GM of like the Leafs, they would have fired him by now, right? Like, as far as Star Trek,
the Leafs wouldn't have even put up with this shit.
No, not even the Leafs.
We're talking about sports. I'm out of here. Bye.
All right, bye.
Yeah. See ya.
Actually, maybe this is the easiest way. It's a shit burger.
Thanks, Sam.
So thanks for being with us, everybody. This has been our live stream review of Section 31, the movie special movie event. If you don't know about our channel already, make sure to subscribe and like and check out our other reviews. We are back now to cover old episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. We just did the season 2 premiere of The Child. And we'll be back on next Thursday to do episode 2, which is called Where Silence Has Lease.
Much better episode. Look
out for that. We'll be back on Monday for our next episode of The Orville with Jody covering Gently Falling Rain from the 3rd season of The Orville.
Good episode.
And we've also covered all of the Lower Decks episodes. You can look at right up to the finale. And we do stuff like Star Trek Radio Theater here, where we do the script reads. Most recently, Star Trek Generations. And all that's in our channel. Plus, we're part of the United Federation of podcasts. The Child, it was my.
I agree.
100%. Like,
I agree with that. And for these two, I'm pretty sure they know how strong that.
And I know Norman's not the biggest fan of The Child either, right? So it's
Norman's 100% on this one.
Yeah.
When's Strange New Worlds coming back? Because I need some good new Trek in my life.
Yeah, I'll be happy when that's back too.
We need real Trek. I completely agree. We haven't had real Trek in years. So
yeah. Well, I think some of Strange New Worlds has been really good, and I think that Lower Decks has been good.
Can be, but it's
the closest we've come to to the Trek that I love.
It's the no-name Star Trek,
or that I grew up with, I should say. I love most Trek, but I am precious about my TNG.
I can find good in any Trek for the most part, but not this.
There's whole sections of Enterprise that I very much enjoy. It's my dad's favorite Star Trek, and I love him still.
Also, make sure to check out Jaemeel's new podcast. It's called True Currency. He just launched it with his girlfriend, Becky, if you didn't know.
I always have time for some Jaemeel. For sure.
Where is it?
The dulcet tones.
Yeah, I know. I should have
Lower Decks and Prodigy a chance. Those are the. I don't have a problem with either one of them.
Lower Decks and Prodigy are Prodigy. I'm still on the 3rd season of. I haven't finished it. I am very much enjoying it.
Yeah. I don't have that much of a problem with it, but it's still not full Trek to me.
It's not what I expected it to be. But once I put aside those expectations, I've enjoyed it much more.
Yeah, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about Lower Decks. I'm not talking about.
Yes. Oh, Trivial Debates. Right.
I haven't watched.
Trivial Debates is on tomorrow, and it's a Doctor Who episode. I'm excited for that.
It is.
I love that.
And you're one of the contestants. Is it Sean Ferrick hosting?
Sean Ferrick will be hosting, and Ellie. Also,
I thought that was Ellie. I saw the screenshot, and I'm like, oh, I think that's Ellie. from
and I believe we have someone from Trek Pod on it as well.
Oh, wow.
So I am not liking my odds on this, but I'm going to be in costume and having fun.
Is it true you've seen like every episode of Doctor Who?
Up until the end of Peter Capaldi, I have seen every episode that exists and that has been fan recreated, but that's over the last 25 years or so, so I don't remember a lot of them. But yes,
including classic era.
That is including all of the classic that still legally exist, all of the classics that people have put into torrents that I could find. I went on an ADHD hyperfixation for quite a while.
Yeah, well, I'm a big Doctor Who guy too, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll be checking that out on the Trivial Debates channel tomorrow evening. I believe that's coming out. Okay, everybody.
Sam wants to know if Ted's going to be on the TNG stuff.
We'll have him back. It's always getting him on the right episode that will suit his personality.
So.
I haven't gotten to meet the patriarch of the Mater family yet.
My dad, he got me into Star Trek originally. He got me into original series.
Just don't talk about that
Simon
episode.
Earth.
Yeah. Don't talk about Simon Earth. He'll call you stupid.
He likes it, and anybody who doesn't. Anyway, but that's a whole other story. All right, guys, let's get out of here. Live long and podcast, everybody. And if you want something here, you got to make an appointment.
Madame Dufranc normally does business by appointment.
I like to make an appointment.
Oh, the gentleman would like to make an appointment.
Impossible.
Impossible.
There's no gentleman here.
See you next time, everyone.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on Trivial Debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.